All right, so welcome to the webinar on internship and job search strategies. My name is Christine Kelly. I'm the Director of Career Development, and I'm joined by
I am Lee Schroyer, Employer Outreach and Internship Coordinator.
Wonderful. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to search for jobs and internships. So whether you're seeking an internship or a job, the process is the same. And today what we're going to do is share with you some strategies that you can use to find your own internship or job opportunities, or even create them if that's the case. Before we talk details, I want to consider a little bit behind what's driving your need for an internship or job. So, on a basic level, we know that you want an internship because it will help you to get the kind of job that you want. And that if you already have a job and you came to graduate school, then I believe that the reason you did that was so that you could advance your career, or maybe you want to completely change careers. And we want to help you explore those options and get something that's really the type of career that you're looking for and is going to set you up for a good future. So what we're going to do is talk about ways that you can use your experiences here to actually flourish in your job search and internship creation and search. So when you think about your work experiences that you'll need to gain while you're at CGU, you need to think strategically. So again, even those of you who might have work experience, if you're contemplating changing your role or changing your industry after completing your degree, you might still need to do an internship, or at least look at how you craft your current work in such a way that it helps you to move into the position or the industry that you're aiming towards. So both Lee and I have made mid-year or mid-career shifts. So I'm still in the same industry, but I changed pretty drastically the job title I had and the role I had.
I completely changed industries and focuses.
Yeah, and so changing the functional areas is one challenge. Lee's was a bigger challenge because that was industry and functional area. So those are challenging things, and we want to help you figure out some of the things that you could do to speed along your process. So before you start your search, you're really going to need to do a gap analysis so that you can know that you're gaining the right experiences here at CGU that are going to help you get the career position that you want. So obviously, we'll look at a little bit of why you need an internship. Obviously, the first reason is that you want to build skills that you're lacking. Again, it really helps if you know the specific skills that you're lacking. So by talking to people, reading job descriptions, and really researching the industry or the career level position that you want, you'll know what skills you need to have. Also, gaining relevant work experience. And so employers talk a lot about, wanting people to have a wide variety of skills, and they're open to people from different backgrounds. But what really happens that you'll see is that employers tend to prefer relevant work experience. And so that might be something that you need to work on. Also applying theory to practice. And so CGU has a lot of classes that allow you to do that. And an internship will also help you take it a step further so that you're not just working on a class project, but you're working on something in the actual field that you want to enter. Obviously, building your strategic relationships and getting to know people who can help you enter your field of interest. So if you're just starting out and after CGU is going to be your first career level position, obviously you need to build a network within that particular industry so that you can get to know people and they can help you as you go through your process of trying to find internships and jobs. For those of you who might be making a mid-career shift, you're going to have to build an entirely new network. If you're trying to work in a new industry or even a new functional area, you might find that the people that you currently have strong network connections with maybe aren't the right people for moving into that new area. Also learning to articulate your academic experience in industry terms. And this is one of the things that's a challenge when you come to graduate school. You learn how to talk like an academic. And when you leave academia, unless you're staying in academia, you need to learn how to talk like non-academics. And so that's something that you'll need to work on. Also, an internship can help you refine your career focus. I think there's nothing better than trying something out before you fully commit to it, so you can see if you really like it, or you might, through the process of an internship, discover a love of something else that you experienced there that you didn't know you had. And lastly, so that you can learn how to navigate the work environment. Different workplaces have different environments and different cultures. And so in an internship, you can try those out, or any kind of job shadow that you might do. So those are some things that you can think about as you're considering why the why behind your internship and job search. So there are some things that you should do before you start your search. And so first would be to consider what industry you want to enter and really understanding and knowing how that industry hires. So for example, if you aspire to be a college professor one day, you need to know that all of the hiring process for that, or almost all of it, happens in the fall for the following year. So if you wanted to start in a new faculty job in fall of 2020, now's the time that you're applying for jobs and doing the interviews. Same is true for consulting.
Yeah, if you're looking at consulting positions, you really need to start in the very beginning of your first semester, because those application windows are going to end before the end of September.
Mm-hmm. And we found a lot of organizations do their internship search in the fall for the following summer. So really understanding the timeline for hiring the industry you want to enter. And then also looking at the particular company that you want to work for. I hear a lot from recruiters that the question that people have the hardest time answering during an interview is, what do you know about the company? You need to know about them, but that's also good for your own edification. Do you want to work there? Do they work on projects that are interesting to you? And what do you want to get from what industry, what company do you want to work for?
Well, one thing about the companies you want to work for too, everybody says the big companies, Google, Microsoft, Apple, some of the larger companies out there, but those represent a very tiny fraction of the jobs that are actually out there. So if you do your research, you can find a lot more jobs that you might be interested in, or companies you like to work for.
Yeah, and those are also sometimes a real challenge. I've known some people that have done the Google interview, and they say just the process to get hired is 6 or 7 interviews. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And a lot of people are not successful their first time, or sometimes their second time. So it takes 3 times to land a Google job. So it's a lot of work. Also thinking about your functional area. So this is something that Lee and I talk to students a lot, like what do you want to do for the organization? So you have to think of the industry. So industries are things like higher education, tech industry, consulting, finance, things like that. The functional area is what you do within the organization. So maybe you're in accounting, or you're in training and development, or human resources, or doing business analysis. And so when you're thinking, you can do almost any job in almost any industry. So maybe you're thinking, well, I can't work in the tech industry because I don't know anything about programming. Well, tech industry, I mean, look at Google. I've worked with people who've ended up in Google research. I worked with somebody who ended up being in Google's wellness programs. There's a lot of different areas. So some of the people I've worked with had 0 experience coding because that wasn't their job. So really think functional area and industry and company. And then think about the specific skills that you want to gain and develop. So I think any job that you apply for, and this includes your internships, should be a stretch for you. You shouldn't look for things where you already know how to do everything, because you're not going to grow as a person. So it's really important to think about what do you want to gain from it, and how can you look at some opportunities for you to build and become a different candidate for your future positions.
So this is a preview of what we're going to be looking at over the next few slides. We're going to be talking about the best ways to find internships and jobs. So asking people that are around you, family and friends. You can look to job club groups or job clubs. You can actually go knocking on an employer's door, which usually kind of means LinkedIn, or you can do a hire me campaign. So the first one we wanted to cover was talking about the different levels of strategic relationships. And as you can see on the graphic, there's really 3 levels. You've got the inner group, which is strong ties. Those are people you see on a almost daily basis, and those are your friends, your family, your professors that you actually have classes with. The second level, the weak ties, are people you'll see once a month or so. They may have your phone number, but you don't regularly interact with them. And then the people on the outer layer are temporary ties. They're very rarely seen. Maybe saw them speak once. You made an impression on them. Maybe you contact them once a year. You see them once a year at a convention. And I'm going to give you 1 second to think about what percentage do you think comes of jobs do you think comes from strong ties? Most people would be surprised. It's only 16% of jobs come from those ties. 55% come from weak ties, and the other 27% come from temporary ties. And if you stop to think about it, you have to wonder why. Why would that be? Well, the reason is, if you look at your strong ties, all those people are connected to other people that are in your small circle of friends. So they don't have that many connections that are not your connections. So any one of them is going to know about other opportunities that other people within that circle are going to know. The weak ties, though, those people are going to know people you've never met and never heard of, and they're going to be aware of a lot more opportunities. And there are a lot more people that you bumped into, you have a casual relationship with, but not overly close relationship with.
Yeah, I saw a presentation a few years back on somebody did a networking analysis and found out that the people who are at minimum 3 times removed from you are the ones that are the most helpful. So again, that reinforces the 3 rings out from you.
So how do you go about building those weak ties? You can build some strong ties this way too, but you look at the associations that those people you brush up against every month or so belong to. I go out to meetings from the Association of Training and Development, Professionals in Human Resources Association, but there are other ones too that specifically fit my degree program, the Society of Human Resources and International Positive Psychology Association. But those are all great ways to meet those weak ties. And I can tell you a short story of how I went to a convention for the Industrial Organizational Psychologists, and I made a connection in there with one of the speakers and actually brought her in to consult with me on one of the projects I did here at school. So
yeah, and there's a professional association for everything and meetups and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of ways to connect with people too.
So one of the main ways, one of the great ways to be able to get an internship is to actually craft an internship or job proposal. So the first thing you need to do is find a specific employer that you're interested in working for. And you need to do your research on the employers that you build out. There's a good book called The 2-Hour Job Search that I refer to a lot. And he suggests you build out 40 to 50 different organizations you might be interested in working for. And then you prioritize from there based on geographics, if we have alumni, if they're posting positions. Then you look at the individual divisions at those organizations, the divisions that do what you want to do. For instance, organizational development is rarely an actual department, but usually it fits within the human resources department. So you would target that division for like an OD type of job. Find out who does the hiring for that division, and then find out what the needs are of that organization and how you can fit that needs. And the way you're going to find that out is you really have to have inside information. You have to know somebody that's in the company. Finding a mentor that's within that company or is in a tangential company that might have information about it.
Yeah, and informational interviews are a great way to find that out too.
Yeah, that's going to be your first and last option on finding those opportunities. We often say that in this process in crafting an internship or job proposal, most of the jobs you find are not even posted. They don't exist in the public space yet.
Yeah, and the stats on that vary. I've heard anywhere as low as 65% of jobs and as high as 85% of jobs don't ever
Mhm.
get advertised outside anywhere. So they get filled by those ways we showed you a couple of slides ago through referrals and other types of things like that. And very few of those through internet job boards. And so really getting to know people and knowing companies you want to work for and what they want is going to accelerate your job search.
Well, and just because a position doesn't technically exist in that organization, if there's no chief happiness officer at most organizations, but if you can create a proposal that shows, how that's going to help the company profit and build revenue and build better culture, then they may be able to create a position that you can apply your skills at.
And that's actually a real position. I saw that somewhere.
It does exist, but it doesn't exist
we weren't making
everywhere.
it
Yeah.
up.
Okay, so the other way you can do it is you can devise a hire me campaign. You can look at a lot of different examples of how this exists, but these are strategies to get employers' attention, and you can directly reach out to recruiters to give them your hire me campaign. I'm going to give you a couple examples real quick. Okay, so this first one is called the Google Job Experiment. And it's just going to play for about a minute. So this person that was trying to apply for specific companies in New York looked at every CEO's name of those companies. And he bought a Google advertisement. So when they search for their names, because we know every CEO searches their own name on Google, this would come up, and the first one that would pop up was his advertisement. So he created 5 ads. He got 4 responses, 4 interviews actually, out of those ads, and got 2 offers from it. And for a total cost, wait for it, $6. So that was a pretty effective advertising campaign. That was someone that was doing marketing, so it was great, evidence. It was the proof. And this is an interactive resume for a coder. So Robbie Lunardi. Okay, so it gives a little information about him, where he wants to live and work, a little personal information. He likes the NBA. But then it goes through his skills, programming languages he has, software he has worked with, goes through his experience. And then his awards and publications. And at the very end, you can actually send him a message directly through his resume, which is a great example of, the proof part of the coding, or the proof part of the application process or interview process.
Great. Okay, so once you launch your campaign, and hopefully you're going to be really successful in getting your internship for your job, we just wanted to talk a little bit about some things that you could do to make sure that your internship leads to a job offer. Or for those of you who are preparing for advancement in your career, these are the same strategies that you could use to build yourself up. And it's really important to remember in internship and or job that you need to do a lot of self-promotion, because we like to think that our bosses will recognize all the wonderful things that we're doing, and that's not always true, because your boss is busy with his or her own work. So she may not pay attention to all the things that you're doing. And there's been a lot of research on performance evaluations and found out that most, even though it's supposed to be 12 months, it's usually about 2 weeks before the evaluation takes place is what gets focused on. So you want to keep good records and do some things to help your boss understand you and your goals. So obviously having open lines of communication, especially if you're in an internship and you would like that to turn into a job at different points, kind of talking about what possibilities there might be. Also, you communicating about what else within the organization. So maybe that role's not the exact right one and you want to work in a different division. You can have those conversations. And in an internship, the boss worker relationship is different. It's a little bit more, it's not as formalized. And so it might be okay to do that. Ask a lot of questions. And so use your time there to figure out what's going on. Seek feedback. So, especially for interns and even in your own job, to ask for opportunities to speak to your boss to get some feedback on how things are going before you get to a point. So, for example, if you only get or reviewed once a year, there might be a time during the halfway point where you want to ask for a meeting and talk about, in the first 6 months, how have I done? So that if there are problems, that you can fix those in the next 6 months before your evaluation. And definitely take time to talk about the future, about what you want, what your goals are, and how your boss can work with you. So, for example, sometimes you might have a boss who's really open and transparent. In my last job, I did not necessarily have that, but in my role here as director, Lee and the assistant director, I know that for both of them, these are starter jobs and not really where they want to end up for their career. But I've talked to them about helping me understand where they want to go next and what experiences they need to be able to make those changes later on. And I've told them to just be really open with me about when it's getting close to the time that they want to leave, so I know what's going on and then I can help them prepare for their future. So some bosses are okay with that. So there are ways that you can figure out if that's an okay conversation to have. If you're in an internship situation, that's always an okay conversation to have, because there isn't really a guarantee that they would offer you something anyway, and it's trying out. So talk about your future with them. And again, always manage up. So communicate with your boss about what you're doing, what your accomplishments have been, keeping track of that. And again, things that are above and beyond the regular duties of your particular job, and keep them informed about what's happening and going on.
You also want to take advantage of the time that you have with your boss there. So every meeting you go into, be prepared, have your own agenda and checklist of things that you want to cover. So you're making efficient use of their time. They may not have that much time to spend with you, but if you have a list, they'll understand that you're respectful of their time they're devoting to you.
Yeah. And there are some things that you can do that will make you stand out a little bit, and things that you should think about beyond the actual tasks of your job. So first is to find mentors, and it has an S on it for a reason. You should find many mentors. When you're here at CGU, you should also have more than one mentor. So depending on your year, you got assigned an advisor. So that's who you start with. But you can branch out. You might find people in different departments on campus. You might find advanced graduate students who are mentors to you. You want to just avoid focusing on one person, because one person can't meet all of your mentoring needs. Mm-hmm. So someone might be really good at helping you figure out how to navigate a workplace or how to communicate effectively, and someone else might be really good at strategizing. So when you think of meeting people, finding out what their strengths are and what you need to kind of help you move to that next state. And always building your network. And that's something you'll need throughout your career. You never know when you might hit a snag with where you're going. Sometimes, it's funny because I meet a lot of people who want the job that they can have forever. And if you haven't worked a lot, you think, that's really good. I'll just have one job, one company. But you might get bored, because what you want in your 20s and 30s is not necessarily what you want in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. So you might want to make a change.
Well, and it changes now too. They show that the average expectation of being at one position is only 3 years now. So you're going to change a lot in process of your career.
Right. So always have a strong network. Keep those lines of communication open. Do informational interviews with people. Again, when you're a student and you contact someone and tell them I'm a student and I'm doing research for my career, they're really willing to talk to you. And you can do a lot of things as a student that once you're out of school is a little harder to do, because if you don't have the I'm a student badge on you, people might be a little less willing to talk to you because they might think you're only talking to me because you want me to help you get a job.
Yeah. And when you're a student, it's curiosity. When you're a professional, it's just stalkish.
Yes.
And I would also say, start that network process early. I would start it right at the beginning of your CGU career. Most of the programs have, tracked courses for that first semester, maybe half of that second semester, but you want to have information about that gap analysis and the skills gaps you have before you're making decisions on choosing electives in that second semester.
Right, that's a great point. In addition to the fact that your network, you can't build a network when you need a job right away within a month or two, because it doesn't work. People you just met aren't necessarily going to recommend you for jobs, but if you've known them for a year and change, they might. And then the keeping a journal. Someone gave me a really great piece of advice years ago and said, keep track of what you do on a regular basis. It's above and beyond the duties of the job. And that's excellent advice that I followed. I've been a little lax lately, but I'm going to get back on that. But that's something you have to think about, because sometimes I don't remember what I did last week. So I have to keep things down. So I just created a Word document and I just started adding to it every month. Here are things that I did. Every year it would grow. And I always had that list of things that I did that were beyond just the general duties of my job and position. So that's also really helpful when you go for your yearly evaluation, to have here all the accomplishments that I had over the past 12 months. It helps when you need to revise your resume or your CV, as the case may be. But it will really help you keep track. And then also when you're doing that, you can look as you want to move up into a new career level position, you'll need skills that you don't currently have. So if you constantly do this, it might make you aware of some of the gaps that you have. Or if you keep some of the things that you do, like are in your comfort zone, you might think, okay, I need to look at this and break out of my comfort zone and do some new things. So definitely keep a journal. That will help you out quite a bit. So those are the main tips that we have. I realize this was kind of a short snapshot of things, but the point was just to give you an overview so that you will want to come in and talk to us more in depth. We like to personalize the experience to you as much as possible, and we realize that your needs are not the same as everybody else's. So these are some ways that you can interact with us and engage with us. And so you can come for one-on-one coaching to explore your options. And I think this is sometimes I think everybody knows that we do document review. And sometimes people think, well, I can't go there yet because I don't know what I want to do. But that's the exact best time to come if you don't know what, because you can start talking through. Or sometimes I've found, and Lee's probably too, that we meet with students who say, I don't know what they want to do. But then as they start talking about what they want to do, we recognize what that job's called, and so can help them say, okay, this sounds like what you are talking about, so maybe you could do some research that to see if that's what you really want to do. And designing your roadmap is like, what's your strategy? How are you going to use your time here? And then even thinking beyond here, how are you going to design how your career is going to progress through its stages so that you can be upwardly mobile throughout your career path.
And one of the things that we don't see students enough about is practicing for the interviews that are on here. I think that we are able to help students really be successful with that. Interview is not a process that people go through on an everyday basis. It's something that it's a skill that needs to be honed, and we can help you do that and provide you some objective feedback.
Right. Yeah, that's great, because actually I've been working with a couple people recently, and I think the hardest question for anybody to answer is tell me about yourself. And that's the most frequently asked question in an interview, and oftentimes it's the first question. But it's hard because sometimes people are uncomfortable talking about themselves, but you gotta craft a really excellent story for that. so we can help you work with that. And I have heard people sometimes say, well, I'll interview for jobs I don't want, and then that will help me improve my skills. But it doesn't, because someone that you interview with isn't necessarily going to tell you what you did that cost you the opportunity to get
they're
the
not
job.
going to give you the feedback
that we would give you. And then also preparing to negotiate. This is another thing that comes along with a job that you might not have ever done before. And women tend to be less likely to negotiate than men do, which is one contributor to why women get paid less. But also, I know a lot of men who are uncomfortable with it as well. It's just awkward and weird to have to ask your new boss to pay you more, and to understand what the process says for doing that.
Yeah, and I can really show you how much not negotiating can cost you. I have a little example I can show you if you come into our office, or you can turn one negotiation into almost $1 million over your career.
So definitely come in and talk to Lee about how we can help you make $1 million. These are some other ways that you can interact with us. So Big Interview is an online platform that we subscribe to for you. So there are a lot of videos that talk about how to answer different questions, but also you can set it up so that it recognizes your computer camera and you can record yourself answering questions. So a little head will pop up, ask you a question. You can record yourself and you can play it back. I think that's really good to hear how you sound, because in the middle of your answer, you can't really analyze that. But you can hear, did I make sense? Was it clear? Is this really what I wanted to say about myself? And then you'll also be able to see how you appear. Almost everybody now is doing video interviews for the initial screening interview. So that's also awkward and weird. I know I do a lot of Zoom meetings with people and I keep staring at their face in the middle of the screen and I don't remember to look at the camera because it's weird. So you want to get used to doing that. We also have a lot of YouTube videos. Some are the webinars that we do, and we also have little career bites that are very short things. We have a blog. It'll be the second Wednesday of every month. We're going to have a new blog post, and it will be something related to any number of things in career development land. Yeah. So definitely look at our blog. And at our Facebook, we post a lot on Facebook and Instagram. We do other webinars and we hold a lot of events. And so you can find out about our webinars and events in Handshake, where you can also schedule appointments to meet with us. And here are other ways that you can connect. So again, Handshake is great. That's how you get your appointments. Find us on Facebook, watch our YouTube videos, and come into the career development office. We're here to make sure that you have career success after you leave. You can come with and meet with us early in your career. We hope you'll meet with us often during your career, so that you can make sure that you're doing all the things while you're in school that you need to. And then the nice thing about CGU is even as an alum, you'll always have access to our services. So we hope to see you soon.
Thanks everybody for joining us today, and have a good rest of your week.
Thanks.